Not very positive feelings, although not negative feelings towards it. I have a feeling this means that some of you probably go up to the Dells every once in a while and maybe win some money. I do. But anyhow, so that's how we read this first grid. So we can see that arts and music, conservation, jobs and industry, sustainability in the community, schools, and that one over here is then nightlife. And so nightlife in Reedsburg, when you think about, yeah, thank you, Todd. When you think about it, what could that involve? That could involve going to a school play. We really didn't define that all that well and left that up to you to interpret that. Everything from going out to fish on a Friday night to, it's officially probably night here. This is maybe Friday night nightlife in Reedsburg this weekend. So important for people to have places to gather. The second one is community feel, community atmosphere. So we grouped in this graph all of the elements that we thought might make some aspect of Reedsburg or comprise that idea of community feel or atmosphere. And here we can see we've got sense of community growth, history, community gathering spaces, traditions, small town population diversity, low-income housing, and single-family housing. And the items that rank on the top here, growth is very important to the community feel and atmosphere in Reedsburg, and certainly when you consider how the community has changed over the past 10, 15, 20 years, that is part of the atmosphere here is a growing, vibrant community. History, despite the fact that we're growing, that history still ranks as fairly important, very important. Community gathering spaces ranks right here. Tradition, all of these things sort of cluster in together. Small town feel is the blue dot up here. Population diversity right here. Low income housing right here. And behind that, they're almost in the exact same, they're separated by 1/100th of a point here, is single family housing. So what makes this feel like Reedsburg and community feel and atmosphere? All right, thanks, Todd. Physical, social, and economic structure. And here we start to overlap some of the other elements. Safety, traffic flow, tax decrease, population diversity, low-income housing, and public transportation. Safety ranks very high for the folks in Reedsburg. This is the element that comes closest to schools. Schools rank slightly higher than this, but safety is also a very seemingly important community value. And when we talk to people today, throughout the day, that certainly is a word that came up quite often. It's a nice, safe community, a secure community. People feel good and secure living here. Traffic flow, it's important. It ranks above the 3. It is still in the positive range, fairly well into the positive range, but I know we do have a lot of traffic going through town. Tax decrease, not so important to people. I mean, important, but it's not ranking way up there. Population diversity, public transportation, low-income housing, and, I think the red one actually got left up there by accident. All right, next one, Todd. Thanks. Pedestrian accessibility, a common issue in many communities. So we took all of the elements from the survey that could be related to pedestrian accessibility in a community, and we put that on this particular graph. We've got walkability, jobs and industry, adventure sports rank right up there. Adventure sports maybe not something we think of as pedestrian accessibility, but certainly something that involves our feet on the ground, our bike tires on roadways, kayaks in rivers, and things like that. Sustainability, an important aspect of that, and architecture ranks right over here. All right, and I think we have one more. Social, cultural, and entertainment. Arts and music, gambling, malls, nightlife, traditions, rec sports, community gathering, and adventure sports. And we see gambling right over in this lower right left-hand corner. It consistently ranks the worst, or the lowest, not the worst. Malls, not necessarily an important element of Reedsburg. Nightlife, we have over here, I believe this one is, I'm not going to come back to that one actually. Arts and music, traditions, and community gathering spaces. So we can see kind of the distribution of how we're sort of moving along this quadrant here of all of the different things that are important in the community of Reedsburg. And I think that was our last one. That was our last one. So the results of your survey. So these are some maybe things to keep in mind tonight. Maybe you've got a lot of other ideas. We'll certainly take a look at this tomorrow when we come up with our design ideas. But it was a great survey response. We got some neat insights on this particular graphing exercise that were really confirmed by what we saw today. So thank you guys for participating in that.
stay up here because you can help with the questions. So again, thank you very much. You guys had great participation in that survey. We almost hit 1,000 with it. That's really good. And what was interesting was like how much you guys agree on things. You are a very agreeable community. Okay. So this ought to be easy then, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to assign a design team member to each table to facilitate this exercise, but right now we've got some tables that only have 2 or 3 people and some tables that are full. So if you're at a table that has less than probably 8, I'm guessing, you probably need to move to a table to help fill up one. And so if design team members can assist community members on the spot. Yes, we have a question?
Yeah, going back to the survey.
Yes.
Do you have any demographics to let us know, like the ages of the respondents?
We do have all the demographic information, all that. Yeah, we'll put that together and it'll be included in the final report. Okay? Thank you. So design team members, if you can slowly move into place and help community members consolidate to tables that make sense to you. Cards and a pencil, then you need to raise your hand. If you have extra index cards or extra pencils, you can hand those to one of the design team members and they'll figure out what to do with it. How are we doing, folks? Design team members, do you have any problems out there? Are we good? Are we good to go? Okay, I'm going to hand the microphone over to Kristen because she's better at this than me.
That is so not true. Up the front? Okay. So for this very first question, before I give you the question, what we're going to do is we're going to ask a question. We're going to ask you to think about it, to write down. Are we doing one word? Todd, are we doing one word on the index card?
Because you have 2 index cards, right? So we're going to do 4. You each have how many index cards now?
2 to 4. We need short answers on each question.
You only need 2 index cards because we're going to use both sides of the index cards. We're going to save some paper for that we can use for Princeton in the fall. How about that? Okay, so what we're going to do is you're going to put a number 1 on one side of the index card, and you're not going to put your name on it. Okay, don't do that. This is meant to be anonymous, so that you can be as honest as you want to be. Maybe I'll give you an overview of what to expect. So what we're going to do is we're going to show you 4 questions up on the big screen. And what you're going to do is be as honest as you can, and hopefully constructive as well. That would be nice. So we'll give you question number 1, and then using your own noggin and your own pencil, write down on that note card your best response for question number 1, and then just sit patiently while everybody gets that done. And then you can flip over your index card and write a 2 on the top of that. And then when we do question number 2, do the same thing. And then when we get to question number 3, write 3 on one of the other index card. You're going to answer those questions, and then you're going to flip that over, put a 4 on the top of that, and fill that one out. It's pretty easy stuff so far, right? All right. And then when you get done with those 4 questions, then you're going to stop. And then the team members are going to take the cards that are at your table, and they're going to exchange them with cards at the opposite end of the room. And you're going to get somebody else's responses to those questions. And you have no idea who they are, unless they have very recognizable handwriting. And as a small group, you're going to go around the table and read off what you had for answers for number 1. And then the team member at your table is going to write down what those answers are on a big sheet of paper. And when that paper is full, then I'm going to take that big sheet of paper and I'm going to hang it up in the hallway out there. And then we're going to do the next thing for 2, 3, and 4. And after we get those 4 big sheets of paper filled out from your table and hanging out in the hallway, then we're going to give you some stickers. And then we're going to force you all to get up and walk out into the hallway. And you're going to vote for what you think were the best answers for number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4. This isn't rocket science. It's not meant to be rocket science. It's meant to be simple, it's meant to be safe, and it's meant to get us some direction, okay? So that's the process. There's always things that go wrong, but that's the process. Hopefully, not much will go wrong. And if you have questions, be sure to ask the facilitators at your table. If they don't know the answer, they'll make something up, okay? I'm going to hand the microphone over to Kristen because she knows these questions better than I do, really, she does, and I mean that. I'm just going to click the arrow button because I'm good at that. All right.
Thank you, Todd. All right, so for this very first question, I want you to just imagine for a second that you're flying over Reedsburg, that you are looking at all of the places you spend time with your friends, with your family, by yourself, during the week, during weeknights, weekends, all of Reedsburg in its physical entirety. And with that in mind, imagine, I'm so tempted to say, everyone, just close your eyes and imagine this for a second. But with that in mind, we want you to answer the question, what is your favorite place in Reedsburg and why? So what is your favorite place in Reedsburg and why? And as I heard Dan say, you can't say Reedsburg. All right, are we ready to advance to the next question? Pretty easy so far. Okay, we can do this, right? Okay, next question, second question is, what needs to change? A little bit deeper, what needs to change? Not with the one, not yet, not in general in Reedsburg. What needs to change in Reedsburg? A little bit deeper this time. Question number 3. Now, keeping in mind that there are no right or wrong answers, we're going to dig a little bit deeper on this one, and we're going to ask, who would not feel comfortable living in Reedsburg, and what can we do about that? So who would not feel comfortable living in Reedsburg, and what can be done about it? All right, I think we might be ready to move on to the fourth question. Feel free to keep writing on this one if you'd like to. All right, question number 4, our fourth and final question of the night. All right, think 20 years ahead from now. That would be what, 2037, almost 2040? What do you hope to see in Reedsburg? What would you like your community to be like? So 20 years from now, what do you hope to see in Reedsburg?
So just sit tight with your team. The cards need to stay with your team leader right now at your table. And Kristen and Johnny are going to be responsible for the... Oh, I'm sorry. Mariah wants to do it. Sorry, Kristen. I promised to Mariah first. And she was my host family, so she wins. So, in Bailey's Harbor. So, Mariah and Johnny, not to be confused with each other, they're like the two most attractive people on our team. They are going to be responsible for the big switcheroo. So they're going to be going from one team member to another and grabbing stacks of index cards and doing the most incredibly efficient random thing ever that I've never figured out how it ever gets done. That's why I never volunteer to do it. But I know that Johnny's really good at it, and I promised Mariah that she can play with Johnny. Everyone. All right, the next part of this exercise is going to be a small group discussion led by the facilitator from our design team at your table. And they're going to have you focus just on question number 1, all right? So the design team member needs to take out a bright colored marker so that we can see this. Hopefully you have one at least, and that it works. Make sure it works. Design team members write a number 1 on the top of the page, and the question number, or the question is, what is your...
And now that's all it is. Really, that's in the trucks, and then it's illegal. They do it all fixed.